We have first, second, and third class. Everything is mainly due to very small modules. They are not self-sufficient, and that motivates to not participate because they don't have the economical resources, and funding is very expensive, and also some of them are not subjected to credit or they are in past due portfolio. Nevertheless, we have some successful cases. Some of them have solved the trading issue, and some of them are a little bit forward, like the case that we are presenting, a model that is more advanced to the traditional criteria in Guanajuato. And we will begin with Roberto, so he may explain how they could get to that point. Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. Thanks for inviting me. Please let me greet you from the 011 sector in Guanajuato. My function within the organization is to carry out the strategic plans. So the irrigation model could participate in the development and competitiveness programs. The model was born in whenever we wanted to decentralize in the year 92. The responsibilities, basic responsibilities, when we got such transference of the hydraulic infrastructure, it include the management. When we got this transference, we place special attention in two ideas that the concession states: that the association must comply with two principles mainly. One of them is that it should be an organization able to self-sustain, and with another basic principle, and that the organization is that it should be administratively independent. If we analyze these accounts from a standpoint more critical, we then could conclude that the company or the organization, that is to say, should not assume that it's going to survive or that it's going to be supported by subsides or supports as a regular activity. That has been already commented. From there, the autosufficiency idea must be defined with very precisely in order to pay every commitment implied in the operation and preservation of the hydro-agricultural activity. This would take us to a point of thinking that we would be able to generate our own knowledge in accordance with the environment where our organization is located, according to the characteristics of the environment, of the producers, of the crops, of the water availability, and all the elements that are within the organization. It is a first stage where the irrigation model assumes the responsibility of defining an autosufficiency objective, and this must be reposed periodically. But in here we began from the standpoint that the users should be looking for the alternatives, for the strategies in order to survive and to go along with this task of transference. What is making a difference in us as an irrigation module, that the ones that got the transference in the first place was a group of very plain producers, humble group that wanted to do things differently to what they have been done, and they envisioned, and also they made a model that we still have for 18 years now, supposing what was the most important thing in this sector to deal with. It is no coincidence that for 18 years now, the producer assumed that the main problem he had, it was, and it is, trading. We saw that the water issue is an important issue that should always be in our minds. However, I want to say once again that 18 years ago in our module, that when the problem of water was not as acute as it is today, but there was another parallel problem, a problem parallel to the inefficient use of water and the practices that were provoking an inefficient use of water. So planning began, definition began in terms of defining concrete problems within the sector, and actions are generated, concrete actions, in order to give service to these problems. In the year 1995, 3 years later, there is a second association put together around the mother organization, and this is a civil organization that was called Agricultural Services, which main objective was and is to approach to the users, providing them with technical support. Well, the story that I wanted to tell you is kind of long, so we are going to stop right here. And well, right now, Marcos Oviedo is going to tell us, and where we have a parallel service company where they went from one scheme to the other. What do you think about it? Well, I would like to take once again from the last presentation and the first one in this session some aspects that were like absolute truths among the public, but I believe that it's not worthy to give some comments about it. And we have, well, saying that the 3 tools could solve our development could make too simple the complexity. Development is a process, a complex process, and the development of the territories could emerge as an emerging property, emerging from the conditions of the several elements that are implied, that finally we could label as the development characteristics. And I comment this because maybe with some tools the development problem could be solved. And I believe that the tool, as it is presented to us right here, is showing that it may have differentiated results depending on the territories and the people working on it. And evidently, this would give greater complexity. We are dealing with a huge diversity, and we shouldn't get married or marry a single tool for development purposes. Another situation that I would like to put into context is that we talked about public policies and state policies as well, but I think that before of that, as citizens, as persons that are inhabiting these territories, our responsibility is to have our own regional project and our own country project. If we do not build in consensus a project for the country, the state policies cannot develop. These are two elements that were put aside, and I would like to put them on our table, because evidently then the organization, capital, human, and project is not enough, and the credit won't be enough as a tool. Also, the social organization, as the experience that we are listening to, is a process that the people are facing from a need, something that they cannot solve jointly, in the sense of not having an organization potentializing the capacities of individuals. Obviously, it would not persist or survive. And some of these elements, particularly speaking, and I also would like to reflect on this, is that evidently the state has not contributed much in forming social organizations, and that doesn't mean that they haven't issued programs. As Mr. Espinosa was mentioning, and the case of the cooperative organizations seem to me to be an optimistic vision that is possible. But I believe that it's very pessimistic what lies behind them. If we pay attention to the economists that write the economist history of this country, the land was the basis of development of this country up to the 70s. That means that the land producers, organized as they were by the state or by themselves, were able to generate that wealth that took our country up to that point. It is said that from the 70s on, the situation reversed. The question is, what were we doing that we are not doing anymore, or what are we doing wrong, or what is happening? And in that scenario, the program appears to be as a public initiative for solving a problem that I believe we are understanding not widely, or maybe in the wrong way. So right now, I would stop my participation with this series of comments that maybe would be kind of provoking. But at the end, I believe that we could have other participations on that same context. Well, I believe that something that is quite important is not taking the basis of subsides. We have to be more independent, and we have to look at it as a business. If we are always thinking that we are going to have supports at all times, supports are diminishing, and the trend is that they will be disappearing. Mr. Miguel is going to give us some continuity to this. Thank you very much. Well, more than anything, I would like to thank Sergio Soto for having me in this symposium in the name of the organization that we represent as an irrigation district in this country. Thank you very much, Engineer, for inviting us to participate around our colleagues and producers in the country. Well, in terms of the comment of Dr. Marcos, in terms of what we are doing and what we did in the past and what we are doing currently, in the 70s, not many producers nowadays are using tractors. We started to see these machines in the 60s. Today, we are working our field with automatic machines, with satellite systems. I believe that the land in Mexico is one of the drivers of greater importance to our country. However, in our sector, we are going at a very slow pace, not as our society or the industry, and nor as other countries are walking ahead. But we've got something that could help us much in order to advance together, along with some organizations such as the one we are representing today. And it is important that we may evaluate this. And that was very clear this last Sunday, that the very few free times we have producers, we use that to watch television. I saw on a cable channel a movie called A Chain of Favors. That's something that is depicting something in our hands, willingness. And I was listening to Mr. Soto about the situation of supports to our sector. It is true and it is clear, and we are living it as organizations, the organizations we belong to. It is a priority for the land to be irrigated. However, me as a producer, I congratulate this program, because the land requires resources. The water is less and inhabitants are more. We are not producing vegetables, nor grains, nor meat. We produce water. And if we don't take the measures as the ones that are being initiated today by the own producers, we will never be able to reach our goals. In our organization, I want to comment something about our mother company. We were given an irrigation district with a desk and a single typewriter to get the staff we needed. From then on, the willingness of producers have changed things around, have made us to get more benefits in the sense that the National Water Commission is supporting us to get better techniques, and within the companies that we have, we are capitalized with an added value. And for us, it is not difficult to operate the irrigation systems. We, as the same producers. Why? Because we have the resource that is given by the other company, and we benefit from that with the activity of the entrepreneurial activities we developed within our own organization. And that's more than an added value given to our people as individuals, and that is confidence. The way to follow, the road for us to walk, and the challenge we must face. It is also quite important to see the situation given in every organization independently of the activities of the organizations that are actual organizations. In our country, we have some types and categories. Not all the organizations are what they claim to be. For me, it is quite clear that transference of the irrigation districts to producers will give total confidence that the organizations are the ones that are really clean, stable, pure, and more than anything, with a huge potential for growing and developing and bringing about productivity. Why? Because the users are never going to leave. Users are always going to be in their organization, because for us to do what we know best, we need the people, and that's where we are located. I believe that today the land in Mexico is in the right point in which we should work all together with all the benefits and with all the supports given by the institutions in order to become better and to overcome the challenges. Thank you. Thank you, Miguel. I believe that something that is very important and that is very clear is about diversification, not to place all the efforts into a single operation. And I believe that they've had very good outcomes, and that's why they've had some advancements. Please, Roberto, conclude what was outstanding as the services you are providing as a company. Well, I wanted to participate in order to give a testimony of what's been done in our irrigation module, a testimony that we can share in terms of our achievements, the products, the synergies, the strategies, the products of the resources, of the productive resources that have been consolidated so far. And to make a long story short, and to wrap up with what the doctor posed and told us, is that definitely in our organization we assume the responsibility of doing what we are supposed to, and at the same time giving the government the freedom to do what they should. And